Hello, everyone. In this video, we will be talking about how to write an abstract section and some initial discussion on the introduction part of a paper. Let's start by looking at the purpose of an introduction in a research study. Think of the introduction as the first thing that readers see, the opening that sets the stage for your entire paper. So, the introduction is where you connect your study with the existing research field and explain how it fits within the bigger picture of what's already known about your research topic. So, you can imagine the part as introducing a new character in a story where you give just enough background to capture the reader's interest so that they can continue reading your study. In the same way, a good research introduction pulls readers in by explaining why your study is worth their attention. So, why is this part of a study so important? For one, it helps the reader understand why your study matters. If you're researching the impact of social media on consumer behavior in the Philippines, for example, your introduction would show readers why this is relevant today. You can even cite some recent trends that indicate that Filipinos are one of the most active groups on social media worldwide, and that this has big implications for businesses and marketers. By doing that, you are providing merit for why you are focusing your paper on this particular niche or topic. So, in addition, by making this connection as well, readers start to see the real world importance of your research and why they should keep reading. Another reason the introduction matters is because it situates your study within the broader field. So, let's say you're looking into remote work trends in Asia. Your introduction might show how this topic ties into global trends, and it can even reference recent shifts toward remote work due to the pandemic. You could mention how remote work has become more common in the Philippines and other Asian countries, and even present gaps in the current literature, like how little is known about the long term effects on employee well being and productivity. This background helps readers see that your study is not in a vacuum by itself. It's actually part of a larger conversation. The introduction should strike a balance by giving enough information to hook the reader, but at the same time without overwhelming them. By doing so, you are effectively laying a solid foundation for the rest of your study. In this way, a good introduction does not just introduce the topic, it should entice, engage, and make readers curious to find out more. Now, let's discuss why a strong introduction is crucial. When you think of a good introduction, imagine it like a movie trailer. So, a movie trailer just gives enough of the story to make you want to watch the whole movie, right? In research, a well crafted introduction does the same thing by capturing interest right from the beginning and then guiding readers to understand the specific research problem your study addresses. For instance, let's say you're studying how digital payment systems are impacting local businesses in the Philippines. Your introduction should start by presenting a broad context, as in, for example, how digital payment methods like GCash and Paymaya have become exceptionally popular, especially during the COVID 19 pandemic. From there, you can narrow down to the specific issue, which is while digital payments have increased, local businesses are struggling with adoption due to costs, security concerns, or perhaps even lack of technology. This transition from broad topic to specific area within the research topic that you would like to focus on helps your readers understand exactly what gap your research is aiming to fill. A crucial part of the introduction is defining the research problem. In simple terms, the research problem is the issue your study is trying to address. It's not enough to say, I want to study digital payments. Instead, you should pinpoint a specific problem, and this problem has to necessarily be relevant to businesses and its management. For example, a research problem in relation to our example could be: small businesses in rural areas are adopting digital payments more slowly, and this may limit their ability to compete. So, this precise focus is what makes readers see the value in your study. Finally, a good introduction establishes the need for the study. By identifying the research problem and why it matters, you are making a case for why this research should exist. For instance, let's say if few studies focus on digital payment barriers in the Philippines, your study becomes an important addition to the literature. Now, readers start to understand that your research could provide insights that are valuable, not just for academic purposes, but also for practical application, like helping business owners and policymakers support digital transformation. Let's shift our focus now to the abstract, which is a critical yet often overlooked part of any research study. An abstract is essentially a summary, capturing the essence of the entire study in just a few sentences. If your study is the full meal, you can think of the abstract as like the appetizer. So it's a brief taste that should make readers want more of your research paper. Why is an abstract so important? In academia, it's common to go through multiple studies, and most readers rely on the abstract to decide whether or not the study is relevant to them. Now, imagine, for instance, that you're reading research on sustainable practices in Filipino agriculture. You come across an abstract that clearly states the study focuses on small scale farmers using organic methods in northern Mindanao. So, right away, you know if this study is something you want to dive into or not, if it's something of interest to you or not. By reading the abstract, hence, researchers are able to save time for themselves, and it also sets clear expectations for them on what to anticipate by fully reading the entire paper. An abstract typically includes key elements, a number of them, in fact. First is the issue or problem. What gap or question is the research addressing? For example, you can state that the study investigates the lack of access to organic farming resources for small scale farmers in the Philippines. So that is the research problem. You're clearly and explicitly, as well as outrightly, stating it in the abstract so that it can set the frame of mind of the reader. Second, the data sources should give readers a sense of where the information comes from, such as surveys, interviews, or archival records. Then the study method briefly explains the approach taken, such as qualitative interviews with, let's say, 30 farmers, or a quantitative survey of 500 respondents. After that, we move to the basic findings, where you are expected to outline major results from your paper. For example, major results could be that farmers using organic methods reported a 15% higher yield. Once you're done stating the basic findings, you can now move on to the conclusions and implications. And this is where you present how the findings could influence policy or business practices in agriculture, for example. So let's take everything we've discussed about the components of an abstract and see how they work together in an example. A well organized abstract uses all of the components that we previously discussed in the other slide, including problem, data sources, methods, findings, and implications. And by doing so, you give a complete picture of the entire study, even in just a few sentences, and even typically 200 to 350 words. Let's say our study is about the impact of mobile banking in rural Filipino communities. Here's how we could structure it. We start with the problem statement, which can be limited access to traditional banking services in rural areas of the Philippines has restricted financial growth and stability. Right from the start, this tells readers what gap or issue the research addresses. By highlighting a clear, relatable problem, you capture attention and show why the study is needed. Next, data sources might include information like data were collected through surveys of 200 rural residents and interviews with 15 local banking agents. This briefly explains your data sources and helps establish the credibility of your study, showing readers that you gathered input from relevant stakeholders. Then we have the method. You can state that a mixed methods approach was used to analyze survey results and thematic insights from interviews. This line lets readers know that you're combining qualitative and quantitative insights, which often gives a fuller understanding of complex topics like mobile banking access. Basic findings come next, and this can be as simple as results show that mobile banking has increased financial participation by 30% in areas with limited physical banking services. This gives readers a clear and straightforward takeaway. Finally, in conclusions and implications, you could say expanding mobile banking infrastructure may provide a sustainable solution for financial inclusion in underserved areas. So, this not only wraps up your findings, but also points to a larger impact, encouraging the readers to think about how these insights could be applied on a larger scale. A well structured abstract is precise, yet it must also be meaningful. It should allow readers to understand the key aspects of your study without needing to dig deeper, and but while also picking their interest to read on.